Maybe we can kick it off with a bit of a casual introduction, Billy, if you don't mind. Billy or Bob, if you'd like to sort of introduce us to Mycelium, maybe a little bit of background about the merge before the big merge, and maybe any interesting things of note in terms of things that Mycelium offers now as a platform, different than what Tracer did. I don't know if those questions are all suitable, but
yeah, no, that's definitely helpful, and thanks for having us. Yeah, so Mycelium, the artist formerly known as Tracer, recently went through a transition, but a lot of the products in the offering, at least as it stands today, is relatively the same. Maybe just as a bit of backstory, I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with Tracer, just as our affiliation with Tokemak and the reactor that we have for the former governance token TCR. But we started effectively as a team running Chainlink nodes, and it started that in 2019, and grown that to be one of the biggest and largest Chainlink node operators out in the game, and took that expertise to build out what we saw as oracles being a really massive part of derivative products in general, and being able to provide those derivative products on chain. And from that, we basically built out Tracer. Mycelium built out Tracer, spun out the DAO, and created our first perpetual contract, perpetual pools, which utilizes oracles and underlying ERC20 tokens as collateral to offer leverage trading experience without the threat of liquidation, without margin, and having a tokenized form of leverage that can be used in a composable way across DeFi. Those products, the perpetual pools, are currently being used by folks like Umami as hedging tools for particular vault strategies, and have been relatively well adopted. More recently, in the transition to Mycelium, we've actually created a new perpetual product that is effectively a fork of GMX's perpetual swap product that uses GLP, and ours is the Mycelium perpetual swap product, and MLP is the underlying product that we're using to basically serve as an index of various DeFi blue chips and stablecoins that allow folks to take a levered long position on things like BTC, ETH, Uniswap, Link, and that's where GLP basically has similar assets, and we've expanded those assets to include CRV, BAL, and Frac shares. And we launched that product actually earlier this week, after undergoing the Tracer to Mycelium transition. And part of that transition, we are effectively moving and migrating the TCR governance token into the MYC token. And as a part of that transition, effectively introducing additional utility within the Mycelium ecosystem, things that didn't necessarily exist with the TCR token under kind of our Tracer banner. And those things include the introduction of buybacks, the introduction of basically, eventually we'll be able to allow people to use the governance token, the MYC token, to basically pay in fees throughout the platform, and also to unlock, other areas, for example, potential staking products that we're going to be coming out with in the not too distant future. So we have, as part of the proposal that we submitted and outlining some of our near-term roadmap, we're actually going to be getting into the staking game, whereby people will be able to stake ETH, but even more exciting is stake Link, and we expect to be, big movers and adopters in, Link staking products over time, given our deep background within the Chainlink ecosystem. So kind of see us providing not just access to perpetual products, but also products, asset management like products like, the ability to earn yield off of staking yield off of products like ETH and Link over time. With that as well, we've effectively going through a migration of the TCR to Mycelium token, and have created basically a portal which folks can migrate. The supply of TCR and MYC is actually going to be basically 1-to-1. So no increase in overall supply. Potentially, if people forgotten they've had TCR and never migrate over, the supply might actually go dip below a billion tokens over time as people kind of just are lazy. But currently, we have available liquidity that's protocol owned from the tracers, from tracers perspective or Mycelium's perspective, providing liquidity for TCR and MYC on mainnet as well as on Arbitrum. I think one of the exciting things is the team here at Tokemak is just so incredibly fast moving and so incredible to work with that we're setting up, or they've set up the ability to basically transition within the reactor system the ability to deposit MYC into a reactor and then deploy that liquidity on mainnet. So as a part of our general liquidity strategy, we currently have a Uniswap V3 pool available on mainnet, as well as a 80/20 balancer pool that people can access to trade MYC. But as the reactors are deployed, looking to basically scale back the protocol and liquidity that we have on mainnet, and basically deploy much of that liquidity on Arbitrum to basically support that ecosystem of which our protocol is native to. So yeah, that's kind of a general overview of kind of where we are, where we're going, and kind of the state of the token. I think we're really excited to kind of see how our perpetual swap product evolves. We launched it basically live for trading. Basically, I don't know, Monday US, maybe Tuesday US time. It's basically been live for about 48 hours. Right now, TVL on the pools on MLP is just about 12.5 million in the first week, which has kind of exceeded some of our expectations internally, which is awesome. And we've seen actually relatively good trading over top of the pool. So, the expectation is, as people deposit into MLP, we'll actually be providing a targeted yield of 25% in the first month. And as there's trading activity and there's fees generated on top of the pool, basically you can earn yield in the form of wrapped ETH. So we'll convert all the fees into wrapped ETH and then distribute those fees to LPs in the form of wrapped ETH. If for some reason trading activity and fees generated by the protocol fall below that 25% targeted yield, we'll actually basically subsidize the yield in terms of MYC, the MYC token, and particularly escrowed MYC. And that escrowed MYC, for those who are familiar with GMX, it's similar, but the main difference is that it vests linearly over a period of 6 months, and doesn't require you to maintain an LP position or stake your MYC token in order to earn out. So if you are basically allocated escrow MYC over the course of 6 months, that'll become NYC and kind of freely usable across the Mycelium ecosystem, or to LP, or to as some will, sell into the open market to realize that yield.
Got it. So the pools they're sort of I guess you could say like boosted right now with the vesting MYC, and if eventually the targeted APR would be 25%, but if it falls below that, it could theoretically be boosted again with vesting MYC.
Yeah. So if for some reason the yield doesn't hit that target, we'll subsidize that yield with the escrowed MYC token.
Understood.
So nice thing is, as we've been live for basically this 48 hours, we're exceeding that threshold in wrapped ETH. So that's definitely exciting. On top of, effectively early liquidity mining incentives that we're providing to LPs.
Gotcha. And then, that was super thorough. Thanks for going through that. Maybe just another newbie question, which I sort of talked to Bob about. Just how the MLP pool works effectively right now is it's a basket of blue chip and stablecoin assets. And so you would basically just deposit ETH or any asset that is, approved to go in there, and then you receive MLP back sort of one-to-one in like a notional value, and then you automatically earn yield while holding MLP. But how does the mechanism work?
That's exactly right. So effectively, let's say you had Frax, for example. That's one of the stable coins that's available for deposit. You could deposit Frax into the MLP pool. That would give you a receipt of MLP, which would then expose you to basically the index. So Bitcoin, Blink, the various stable coins per Balancer and Frax shares. So by depositing, you're depositing on a single-sided basis, and then having exposure to the basket of coins available in MLP.
Awesome. Cool. I'm trying to think of any other questions that I might have before we. So I guess we can just move on to the process of migrating TCR to MYC. I know you kind of mentioned that a little bit, but just for the purposes of educating the audience that might not have done that yet, it's a pretty simple process, right? You have a front end right now set up.
Yeah, so we have the front end set up. It's migrate.mycelium.xyz. And so from there, you would just connect your wallet. Assuming you have TCR in that wallet, you can put that TCR into the trading window there, and then that will basically calculate how much MYC you'll receive, and that will be one-to-one. Once you kind of agree to the terms and conditions that the lawyers have put for us on the site, you can then effectively approve your TCR. Then hit the migrate button, and then within your wallet, you'll now have MYC tokens. That conversion is available on mainnet. It's also available on Arbitrum, so you can toggle kind of back and forth within the page. If you for some reason you happen to have TCR on Arbitrum, I bet a lot of the people in this community have it on mainnet, given the reactors. But yeah, that would be kind of the easy way to do it. And then the contract address, just kind of put that contract address for MYC in your wallet of choice, hot wallet or browser wallet of choice, and then you'll now see the MYC token in there, and can basically use that in the LP pools, or deposit that back into the reactors.
Gotcha. And then if you wanted to bridge your MYC to Arbitrum, where would you go to do that?
Yeah, so the best way to do that now is actually through the Arbitrum bridge. So we're in the process of working with Across to basically serve as a fast bridge to get the assets back onto mainnet quickly. If you use the Arbitrum bridge, basically you've got like a 10-minute wait time for those assets to be available onto Arbitrum. And then if you wanted to bridge them back, you'd have to wait the 8 days, as is standard with optimistic rollups. But we're going to be working again, like most likely with Across to basically enable fast bridging across each platform. So as you guys are using the Mycelium products and earning liquidity mining rewards, and want to basically get that back into the reactor to earn that valuable toke, you'd be able to do that without having to wait that 8-day period.
Gotcha. And is the long-term goal to eventually migrate all liquidity to Arbitrum, or will there be standing liquidity on mainnet, at least for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I would imagine, at least from a protocol and liquidity standpoint, we're wanting to create that because the Tokemak community is so focused on mainnet at the present time. But what we found is basically for people that are wanting to accumulate, that mainnet is the preferred venue for kind of broader accumulation of the TCR token, and we kind of expect the same thing for Mycelium. So we expect basically a larger share of volume to basically happen on mainnet.
Interesting. Okay, gotcha. And that is, I think, a pretty good leading statement to probably what I presume the most common question in our community is what are we doing to help support liquidity for MYC? So I don't know, Craig, maybe if there's anything you want to touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe I can cover some of this in a kind of time linear fashion so that the community has an idea of what to expect from the reactor and liquidity. So starting tomorrow, we will move the current TCR reactor to the inactive section. That means that people can and should withdraw their TCR from the reactor and remove votes from that reactor. As you pull your TCR, you should migrate it, if you would like, to the Mycelium token. Also tomorrow, what we will do is stand up the new Mycelium reactor, and that will be available for voting and I think deposits, although there's a little bit we have to look at there. And so what we're doing is kind of doing these two things in parallel so that as people withdraw and migrate and then deposit, as we hit our next rollover, we will have votes and assets in the new Mycelium reactor and then start deploying liquidity based on those votes. We're considering a new liquidity option for voting on the new reactor that is consistent with what we have been talking about on prior community calls that focus on kind of more sustainable and I think beneficial for all the appropriate stakeholders in supporting liquidity long term. That's a little bit of a teaser. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get that in, but if it's not in right away, hopefully we'll start to see what this looks like for Mycelium and some other reactors before too long.
It was a very mysterious tease there.
Thank you
Craig.
for that. Yeah. But if there are questions on what this means kind of at the base level for the reactors and the current liquidity, let us know. Oh, a couple of other details there. When we roll over on Wednesday, we will pull the TCR liquidity from the markets, and that includes the T asset pool on Curve and the Sushi Swap pool that's out there now, and then we'll deploy based on voting in the new Mycelium reactor. And Billy and Bob will coordinate with you guys to make sure if you have votes that you are placing in the new reactor, try and make sure that you're voting and you're getting liquidity support where your Toka would want it.
Got it. And just to clarify, the MYC reactor, when we spin it up, the venues would still be the usual venues, specifically, I guess, maybe Sushi, although there is other liquidity elsewhere for MYC. But we won't be directing there necessarily? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was a little vague there. I think our baseline assumption can be that the choices will be the same. And if that were to change, we'll let you know.
Got it. Okay, cool. If anybody has any questions, I think we can probably use the state of the reactor chat and ask Billy now while we have him. Or Billy, if there's anything else that you want to address.
I think, just like one thing that I think like longer term might be pretty cool given the relationship that, Tracer, aka Mycelium, has had with the Tokemak team is, as we kind of get traction with this new MLP product, which is effectively a liquidity pool and an AMM, is really exploring how we can potentially utilize some of the assets that Tokemak has, within its treasury or within the reactors, to basically allocate into MLP to serve as a way to provide liquidity to our product, and then for Tokemak and all its stakeholders to basically earn that yield that's being thrown off in the terms of wrapped ETH, and ultimately if the escrowed mycelium token as a means to basically drive real yield and attractive yields to the Tokemak ecosystem. I think if we could collaborate longer term on something like that, that would be extraordinary.
Yeah, I love that synergy. It's an awesome idea. I think we definitely want to pursue that. So that's cool. It's a very cool idea.
Sweet. Yeah, I would love that. And you just like within the pro mode or pro view, toggle there, and you see a nice little MLP option, and hopefully ultimately pass that down to all the depositors coming through and to the treasury.
I love that Billy's a pro himself.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I'd echo that too. There's so much that's aligned here as Tokemak looks to the future and adds new types of venues to which liquidity can be deployed, in addition to new ecosystems, new layers, etc. There's a lot for us to continue to explore, and I'm sure ways will continue to be able to support each other.
Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions, but Billy, thanks for jumping in here, man. Really appreciate it, keeping us updated, and hopefully that was informative for the crowd, the intimate audience that we have gathered here today. And yeah, so thanks.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hop on over to our Discord, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, or harass Bob here. He's always around.
Bob's literally the best.
He is.
Swaps questions, ours, liquidity questions here.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And we will talk to everyone soon.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Later, guys.
Thanks, everyone.